Well, it wasn't pretty, and for most of it, it wasn't fun, but Indiana finds a way to get it done, defeating Iowa 20-15.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is a live stream bonus show for you, Indiana fans, as the Hoosiers go on the road for the first time this season and defeat Iowa 20-15. And my goodness, was this win gross? Was it disgusting? Was it not pretty? Was it just really not enjoyable for a whole lot of this game? But somehow, some way, Indiana finds a way to pull off the victory. 20-15 final score. Hoosiers take down the Hawkeyes. Now are 5-0 on the season to start 2025. And you head into what everybody always says, but a much needed bye week, right? Indiana on the road for the first time, taking out Iowa 20-15. Come on into the YouTube live stream. Want to get your thoughts. We're going to react to what you have to say, get a lot of your thoughts out there. I'll react to what you have to say, but drop them in those YouTube comments, man. Are you excited about the win? Are you nervous even though you won? Are you a little worried now that Indiana showed some weaknesses in this game? Drop your thoughts down in the YouTube comments. I promise I'm going to get to those as we go. Plus, if you're new here, we're going to do likes and dislikes. We'll also look ahead and talk about what's coming up next, right, for this Indiana team. But plain and simple, you won the game. And there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about Indiana truly finding a way to go and win this football game against a team in Iowa that, I'll be honest, they impressed me in this game, especially in the trenches. And we talked about leading up in this week, and even with our friend Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes, we talked about the idea that Iowa's defensive and offensive fronts graded out really, really well, according to PFF. And I think it showed in this game. And Indiana got bullied. Plain and simple up front, Indiana got bullied, man. Iowa was able to do a lot of what they wanted on offense, which I know isn't much, but they were still able to move the football, killed a bunch of clock, and converted on some first downs, or picked up some first downs, I should say, when they needed to. And Indiana's offensive line just got whooped. I mean, Mendoza didn't make great decisions in this game, but he didn't have a whole lot of time to make good decisions in this game. And running the football was extremely difficult as well. We'll take a look at all the stats and kind of break it all down here on this live stream. But just initial reactions here. You take the win and you get the heck out of Iowa, man. Get out of Kinnick Stadium, get out of the state of Iowa, and let's not go back for a long, long time, okay, until basketball season. I can't remember. It's on the schedule. Regardless, let's not go back there for quite some time because you got away with one here. You got away with a win if you're the Indiana Hoosiers. Are you the better team still? Yeah, absolutely. Are you more talented? Yeah, you are. But, man, you did everything you could to find a way to lose this football game, but you didn't. 20-15 final score. Again, welcome in. If you're just now kind of pouring into this live stream here on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel, we're the place you can go to every single day for Indiana Hoosiers content, Monday through Friday, bonus episodes going out as well, YouTube or on your audio podcasting platforms as well. Man, I was nervous. I was worried, man. Halfway through the third quarter, in that fourth quarter, I just didn't have a good feeling because Iowa felt like they had your number, right? Iowa felt like their game plan was exactly what they wanted to do, and Indiana couldn't do anything that they wanted to do. That's what so many people were concerned with going into this game, but also talking about on social media was, man, Iowa has played the perfect game for them. This is exactly what they want to do. Right, I sent out a post on our Locked On Hoosiers X page at the end of the first half and talked about the possessions that they had, right? After the interception to start the football game, Iowa punted, kicked a field goal, punted again, right? Went to the locker room. Like they were fine chewing up clock and doing what they needed to do to win. But the problem is when you're a team like Iowa and you can't score consistently, right? And you can't take advantage of a Fernando Mendoza interception right near the end of the game, his first one of the season, which he clearly bounced back from. We'll get to that in a moment. But when you can't convert on big plays like that, when you can't cash in touchdowns at the end of long drives like Iowa was trying to do, that's why the Hawkeyes have struggled in recent years to big win football games. They can't outscore their opponent. They outplayed Indiana today. They outplayed, outschemed, and at times they outcoached Indiana today. And that's concerning for me, especially on a 4th and 1 situation. Oh, that's right. Twice where Indiana simply refused to check out of a play that clearly wasn't going to work. Right? Likes and dislikes coming up in just a little bit, but Indiana, I'm not going as far to say as you didn't deserve to win this game, but it was ugly. It was disgusting. And you feel kind of gross after it, right? You kind of feel like you want to take a shower yourself before you really start to talk about it and dive into this. But I'm not taking anything away from the fact that the Hoosiers are 5-0. That the fact that Indiana did win this football game, were there for a long time. In that second half, it felt like they weren't going to. And so, first road game of the year, you didn't look good. You didn't look good. Your quarterback made bad decisions. Defense played great. Defense played fantastic. And I don't care what anybody says. Defense, including turnovers, yes, played their butts off and deserve all the credit in the world for keeping you in this football game. I don't care that it's against Iowa's offense. Your Indiana defense did what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do with arguably your best player not on the field today in D'Angelo Ponce. Something that we had heard down the stretch of last week, or I guess of this past week, but got confirmation this morning. He didn't play. And yet, you still found a way to get it done. Indiana deserves a ton of credit here, man. A ton of credit. Fisher, Moore, Jones, Tucker, you name them, they got it, man. Indiana's defense kept you in this football game until the offense finally found some life. You finally found a surge, and you did it by keeping the football in Fernando Mendoza's hands, right? By running it, picking up some big chunk plays, couple of first downs with his legs, and then eventually you knew he was going to be open because Waffle House is always open. Elijah Surratt gets the catch, breaks the tackle, and that man is gone. And just rips the heart out of every Iowa fan at Kinnick Stadium and across the great state of Iowa. It was awesome to see. But Indiana's got so much to clean up here. It's unbelievable. But regardless, Indiana wins 20-15 over Iowa, and you head into a bye week, and you're still undefeated on the season, man. It's incredible. Incredible to see. And at the end of it, yes, it was a lot of fun, but one of the more stressful games I've watched and covered for Indiana in quite some time. Again, to those of you just now coming into the YouTube stream, welcome in. Drop your thoughts down in the YouTube comments below. I want to hear what you have to say. We're going to get to all of those here momentarily. We'll do likes and dislikes and kind of look ahead to what's next for this Indiana team. But while we have almost 170 people here, can I put my hand up and admit that I was wrong about how this game was going to go? I was absolutely wrong. I talked all week, including our crossover episode with Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes on Friday. I said that Indiana should blow out Iowa. Indiana should have rolled this Iowa team, and my prediction was for them to do so. No, not 63-10 like they did against Illinois. That would have been foolish to predict that. But I did expect Indiana to control this football game, especially in the second half. And that simply didn't happen. You didn't make a ton of adjustments that I wanted to see by this Indiana team from the first half to the second half. You didn't control the line of scrimmage on either side of the football the way that I was comfortable with. and running the football seemed very sporadic to me. You had a couple of chunk plays, but I think Roman Hemby and Kalen Black both ran the football really well today for the chances that they were given. But I was wrong about how this game was supposed to go. And give Iowa a ton of credit for having a game plan, having a strategy, and sticking to it, man. Iowa's going to play Iowa football. Indiana's got some work to do. And I'm not saying last week was a fluke, but this week was a step back. And now you've got some things to fix, some things to work on. And Iowa is a tough place to play. Kinnick Stadium proved why it's one of the toughest, most underrated places to play in college football. Not just in the Big Ten, but in college football. But I was wrong about how Indiana would perform in this game. And it's unfortunate, yes, but I'm glad I'm able to talk about it in a way after you win, right? It just seems, it makes you feel a little bit better knowing that you can fix some things as you go into a 5-0 record, a bye week, and then you get to sit back tonight and see what happens between Oregon and Penn State, who are clearly your two biggest games left on your schedule. And so tell you what, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do likes and dislikes. Plus, we'll talk about what you have to say. We'll get a bunch of your thoughts and your comments here on this live show of Locked On Hoosiers post-game as Indiana takes down Iowa 20-15. We're back right after this here on Locked On Hoosiers. This live show, bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers, is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, I think it's got to be a game-winning touchdown pass, don't you? I think it's got to be from Fernando Mendoza, who several times stood in the pocket, took a big shot, including the big one on the sideline where he had to get his elbow taped up or rubbed up or whatever the case may be. Clean hit, but took a big shot, rolled into his bench, rolled into whatever case that was on the sidelines, and still came in, delivered a beautiful ball, and Elijah Surratt rolls in for the Hoosiers touchdown. That's the play that moved this thing forward and got Indiana across the finish line. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. So Mazda, move and be moved. This live show of Locked On Hoosiers also brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Well, it is the weekend. And time to look at this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday, that's today, with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time that you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. I think it's simple. I think we talk about our man Elijah Surratt. It's not that hard. Let me pull up his official stats here as we're doing our DoorDash read. Elijah Surratt on the day. You ready for this? 6 catches, 132 yards, and the game-winning touchdown. Elijah Surratt delivered for Indiana. DoorDash can deliver your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday that you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, we're back here on this live show of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being with us on the YouTube channel. And again, drop your thoughts down there. Drop your comments if you are excited about the win, if you are not excited, if you're nervous, if you're worried, if it's like, maybe just a breath of fresh air, right? Maybe just maybe you're just relieved that Indiana was able to pull off the win in this thing. It's kind of where I'm at. I'll be completely honest with you. So we always do likes and dislikes here on Locked On Hoosiers when we do our live shows. Likes and dislikes from Indiana's 20-15 win. I like that you found a way to get it done. I like that you basically went against everything that's happened to you this year, which have just been big runaway victories, and you won in a tough environment. Fernando Mendoza showed why you went to get him in the transfer portal. He showed why you leaned on him when you needed him most. I like that the defense was lights out in this game as a whole. I know you could point to certain instances, right? Certain plays, certain moments in the game where you say, man, defense kind of let us down there. Sure, I'll give you that. But for the most part, You give up less than 300 yards. You give up 13 points, the 2 points on the safety. I'm not putting that on the defense. So you give up 13 points. You cash in on a missed field goal, and they played their rear ends off. I loved what I saw from the Indiana defense. I don't like all these penalties that you have. I don't like the miscommunications. I don't like bad decision-making by Fernando Mendoza, your quarterback. Those things have to change. But against all that, even though all those things happened, you still cashed in on a missed field goal that Iowa had, and you go down and you win the football game. You got to be counting your lucky stars. There ain't no doubt about it. But you did it. I like that you picked up 18 first downs in this game. I like that you had over 300 yards of offense in this game. Don't love your fourth down play calling in this game since you were 0 for 3 on fourth down. Don't love that. Rushing was okay. 104 yards. There were certain instances. Again, it felt very hit or miss, I guess. I don't know a better way to describe that. It just, sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. And it felt like you just kind of abandoned it at times where Fernando Mendoza, what did his final passing line be? 13 of 23 for 2 touchdowns. And again, his first pick on the year. I didn't like the amount of times he was thrown into the fire, but he proved he could handle it at times. Love Elijah Surratt. Love Omar Cooper right on the very beginning in the very first drive of the game after you get the turnover. That seems like it was 18 hours ago right now. But I love that you were able to punch him in the mouth right then and there. And I was like, oh, man, here we go. Indiana's going to do it again. I thought my prediction was going to be correct, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And Indiana had to scratch, fight, claw, and grind their way to a victory. So those are a lot of my initial likes and dislikes here. Again, some of the adjustments out of half, I just didn't see them. But overall, you get the win, you're undefeated, and you get out of Iowa, okay? Those are some of my likes and dislikes. Let's start rolling through some of your YouTube comments. I want to see them. Todd says, RIP to those of us with the 6.5 spread. I'll take the W, though. Yeah, for those of you that had a little bit more fun with this game on FanDuel, our friends over there, you may or may not be in a good mood right now. I'm not really sure if you had Indiana 6.5 or even -7, you had the push and then the safety at the end of it, which seemed to be a smart play, but a little sketchy, but it is what it is. Just win, baby. Tough place to win. You're right, Dan. Just get in and win. Winning on the road in conference play is not easy. I don't care if it's the Big Ten. I don't care if it's the SEC. I don't care if it's the MAC. Winning on the road in conference play is not easy, and the Hoosiers found a way. That's what I'm going to continue to say. They found a way to get it done. Was not pretty, and I'm not happy with the performance. And come Monday, we're going to be able to break this down even further and talk about what has to change before you take on a top 5 team in Oregon, top 10 team in Oregon probably, but you win. And you won, and you get the victory, and you're still undefeated on the season. Ron says, forget the zone pass defense. Yeah, apparently Indiana just allowed Iowa to throw the football and allowed 2 quarterbacks to throw the football a little bit. And Hope Gronowski is okay. I know he was clearly banged up and didn't finish the game there. But you can't let Iowa throw the football like they did and pick up junk yards. That was not cool. And Indiana, I will say, buttoned up defensively in the second half, especially just playing so soft coverage in the first half, man. Just like playing so far off of receivers. It felt like we were just like, they're not going to throw the ball. This is Iowa. They're not going to throw the football. So we'll just play off of them and hope that they don't. But they did. So I think Indiana cleaned that up. But I'm with you. Zone defense wasn't Indiana's friend in this game. Matt says, I'm going to do some serious repenting after this game. I already have, because I was wrong. I was wrong about how this game was going to go, but I'm not changing my mind on how good this Indiana team can be for the season as a whole, because these types of games happen. Remember last year? You had the Michigan game. That was at home, but you had the Michigan game where you had to make plays down the stretch and overcome a team that played better than you for most of the game, but you were able to get it done. That's kind of what this game would be, or that's kind of what this game was, I think. So, Matt also says we didn't deserve this game, but a W is a W. I'm not going to go that far. I think the defense deserved it. I think Radicic deserved it, but the offense just didn't have a good game. The play calling was not there. Fernando Mendoza didn't make the right throws, took off a couple of times too late, but he made the play when it mattered the most. And Indiana comes away with a win. Let's see what else we got in here. Would have loved to see the tight end screen today. Yeah, I'm with you. The one for you're talking about the one with Nowakowski last week against Illinois. I'm with you on that. Any major injuries? Of course, D'Angelo Pons didn't play in this game. I did see Michael Kamara go down late. I have not seen an update on him as of now in terms of that's anything crazy. I'll see what that looks like here moving forward. Indiana got lucky. I don't know about all that, but some things went your way. I mean, a missed field goal, that'll help. The fact that you got a couple of turnovers, that'll help. A couple of penalties could have been worse, could have been better, but I'm not going to go and say Indiana got lucky. I think Indiana made some plays when they needed them. And Indiana showed that they're the better coach team. They showed that they could execute when it mattered the most. And Indiana scored a touchdown when Iowa couldn't. So I'm not going to go as far to say that they got lucky. But good teams find a way when they don't play well. That's exactly right, Rick. And you're going to have to do it. And guess what? I'm going to go ahead and enlighten people here. This is probably not the only close, tight-knit, nasty game that the Hoosiers are going to be a part of this year. Sorry, that's how Big Ten play goes. That's college football. They're not all pretty. Last time I looked before I went live, LSU was down by double digits to Ole Miss in the SEC. That's a top 5 team. Now, I know Ole Miss is top 15, but still, Ohio State had to grind it out against Washington today, but they got it done. Games like this happen, and you just got to get it done. Oh, Chris brings up a great point right here. Why did Iowa throw the ball? I assume you're going back to the little slip screen with the running back that fell incomplete, where Iowa could have milked the clock a little bit more, maybe had a chance just to put this game away. I don't know, man. I don't know. He follows it up with saying, yep, so glad they did. Guess what, Chris? Me too, buddy. Me too. I just ugly but gritty win. That's what we're gonna go with. Disgusting, ugly. You can put makeup on a pig, but it's still a pig, right? But at the end of the day, you still win the game. And I think Indiana now, because of what has happened in front of you, you should probably be a top 10 team moving forward. I think you're a top 10 team. And we talked about when you look at this schedule, right? When you looked at this schedule for Indiana preseason, this was always a game we had circled, at least us as fans and the media. We had this game circled because it was going to be tough. Curt Cignetti told you in the middle of the week, this would be a tougher test than what they saw against Illinois last week. I don't think he was lying, do you? I think he was on to something. He knew the environment you were going into. He knew the matchups that you were going into. And he clearly knew this was the first road trip of the season, and his team was probably going to struggle a little bit. To this extent, probably not, but he knew it wasn't going to be flawless. It wasn't going to be perfect. Mendoza wasn't going to have only 2 incompletions and 5 touchdown passes and get 3 different quarterbacks in this game and have a special teams touchdown. You did get your second block punt in a row. That was pretty cool, but you get what I'm saying. It wasn't going to be flawless this week. But I'm still not impressed with how the game went. And I'm sure Curt Cignetti won't be either when he meets with the media, probably as we speak, and then come on Monday with his weekly press conference. So, but again, ugly, but a gritty win. And you figured it out. Yeah, sucks that their main quarterback was hurt. Gronowski, yes, I agree. Hank Brown came in, delivered a couple of decent balls for Iowa. But for a guy that stood on the sidelines the whole time, that's a tough ask for a backup quarterback to transfer. Hank Brown coming in, I just you feel for him. You do. And I hope Gronowski's okay and can move that Iowa team forward. Hawkeyes deserve a lot of respect. No doubt about it. That's a Hawkeyes team. You can see why they were hanging with Iowa State. You saw why they hung with us today. You saw why they beat Rutgers last week. And Penn State better watch out. Oregon better watch out. USC and Nebraska better watch out. I'm not saying Iowa's going to win those games, but the Hawkeyes will be in those games just like they were today if they played that they did. So Tim says Mendoza is true bona fide quarterback making those big-time throws when needed. This is why you went to get him out of the transfer portal. He's a guy who went and won a game on the road in the SEC last year, a guy that won games as the starting quarterback at California. Kurt Cignetti and the entire staff saw something in him. Mike Shanahan saw something in him, and today you saw why. He did not play good. His worst game as a Hoosier. Clearly, his worst game as an Indiana Hoosier, but he still threw the game-winning touchdown pass. He still picked up big chunk yards with his legs, still picked up first downs on the final couple of drives, and kept your team in the ball game. When you needed him, Fernando Mendoza delivered, and that should give Indiana fans confidence moving forward. You really should. So, especially under a ton of pressure. That's what this guy's saying. Brutal pressure, yeah, absolutely. This is a good point. I worry that teams now, I assume that's meaning know how to play against us now. And look, that's every team, though, right? That's every team that gets put on film. The more games you play, the more film there is, the more that they can study, the more that they can prepare, and the more that they can throw at you, right? That's just kind of how this goes. But Iowa showed if you blitz, stack the box, and come after Indiana, sometimes they can do it and sometimes they can't. And teams who can convert on turnover on downs or interceptions or just bad play designs or bad play calling or bad play execution, teams who could take the football and go the other way with it and punch it into the end zone, those are teams that will beat Indiana if the Hoosiers don't make changes. Do you think there's any teams like that on this Indiana schedule? Do you know of any? I think there's a couple that Indiana's going to see really soon. 3 years ago, this win would have made our season. Absolutely. Indiana, look, there's no secret, man, how far Indiana has come. There's no secret about where Indiana was versus where Indiana is and versus where Indiana is going. But I hope that people are starting to accept the idea that this is the standard for Indiana football, is to go and win games like this. That's where I am as a fan. That's where I am as someone who covers his team every day. I am in the mindset of I expect Indiana to win games like this more times than not. Rather than this being a, oh my God, we did it. Oh my God, we went to Iowa and we got the win and oh, we're just so happy. You can be excited about it, but you can also sit back and kind of what we're doing right now and saying, that's great, but you know what lies ahead. And I think that's where we're all kind of at, hopefully. And I'm not picking on Joe specifically because Joe's absolutely right. But now you're entering a new era and a new phase where you expect to play better than you did. Plain and simple. With Kurt Cignetti as your head coach, you expect to play better than the Hoosiers did today. Keep dropping your thoughts in the comments. We're going to scroll through and try to get through most of these before we wrap it up and go and watch the night games, because I think Oregon Penn State's about to kick off, right? So we got to get off here so we can go and watch that. Trying to see if there's anything else in here. Wasn't a step back. Says it was against a tougher defense than Illinois. I'll give you that. At least the defense that Illinois played against Indiana last week. Illinois looked great today against USC and picked up a big-time win. Big-time win for Illinois to get that one over USC. And by the way, Hoosier fans, keep cheering for Illinois and keep cheering for Iowa. You want your wins to look better as the year goes on, so keep cheering for the Illini and for the Hawkeyes as well. Continuing on, says Tim Bob says, I'm honestly impressed with Indiana's gritty win. This would be a game you'd lose last season, a lot of improvement. I'm impressed with it, no doubt, and I don't want that to be misconstrued here. I'm very impressed with the win, but it wasn't pretty. I don't know if I'm willing to say it's a game Indiana loses last year. It's one that probably would have been close last year because of the things that happened today. Your pressure on your quarterback, the defense that Iowa played, the defense that Indiana played, right? Special teams being all out of whack on both sides. I mean, a game where you outgain Iowa, right? You run the ball okay. You throw it all over the place when you need it to. You get a couple of big defensive plays, couple of turnovers, and you were able to convert when you needed. I'm here we go. This explains me perfectly. Likes the W, dislikes Indiana's performance. That's about right. That's about how I feel too. So that says it pretty much better than I could have. Gary brings up an interesting point. Says, in my opinion, I think Indiana got outplayed on the field, but coaching won this game. That's tough because I think Indiana got outcoached here. For most of this game, I think the Hoosiers got outcoached. I think you are a made field goal away and a not Elijah Surratt touchdown from us being very upset right now and having a much different tone on this show. But I got to see more and better out of Indiana and Curt Cignetti. So, like the last play to Surratt, dislikes our secondary, says Matt. Secondary's got to play tougher. Secondary, I want to see more man. I want to see better communication. You got to get healthy back there too, man. Good for Lewis Moore, though, for making some plays today after winning his eligibility bout. I saw some jokes on the internet about that play brought to you by Lewis Moore's attorneys. And yes, absolutely. If you didn't have him today with the non-playing of D'Angelo Pines, you're probably in trouble if you're the Hoosiers. So continuing to see if there's anything else that I want to get to. Iowa was the more physical team than Indiana. That's why they gave Indiana problems. They pushed the Hoosiers around. You're absolutely right, Eddie. They pushed the Hoosiers around big time, and that's something that Curt Cignetti won't be happy about. I have a feeling that'll change in the next couple of weeks. And so let's see. Anything else in here? Yep. Florida State lost. LSU did officially lose. Did that go final? Let me pull that up. If they lost, then you should be good. How about Tennessee? They're losing to Mississippi State right now. How about that? Let me check some of these scores really quick. Yep. LSU goes down, and then like Florida State losing. So Indiana should be a top 10 team come this next AP poll. Doesn't mean they will, but they should. So we will see. Again, we will see. Again, looks like everybody's still getting a bunch of comments in here. Here we go. We'll end with this from Matt. A win is a win. And that is my message to you, Hoosier fans. It was not pretty. It was not good, but you won. And you're undefeated. And not everybody in college football can say that. Not everybody in the Big Ten can say that. And the Hoosiers are 5-0 heading into a much-needed bye week. Here's what's coming up as we get out of here, okay? You beat Iowa. You now have a week off, pulling up the calendar as well. You'll have the Saturday of October 4th off to prepare for a long road trip out to Eugene. You'll play at Oregon, home for Michigan State, and home for UCLA. All right, that's what the next month is going to look like for this Indiana team. And here's the fun part. You're not playing your best football. Even last week against Illinois wasn't your best performance. You just jumped on them and executed and played well and pretty much ripped the soul out of them immediately. You have so much to fix, but it's all fixable things. Get the ball out a little bit quicker if you're Fernando Mendoza. Run the football a little bit more, right? If you are this Indiana team, and just buckle up a little bit. Right? Play a little harder, more physical, I think is what I want to see, especially from the guys on the offensive line. Defensive line, you just got to see some different schemes and things and get home to the quarterback. And if you do, you're going to be fine. Defense played great. And again, they did their job. You've yet to give up more than 15 points this season. I don't know what else you want from an Indiana defense. So, and again, they only gave up 13. Again, the safety was on Indiana. So I'm not blaming the defense at all. But you have plenty to fix going into the bye before you head on the road to Oregon, and you should be feeling pretty confident at that point. And everything is in front of you. Everything is in front of you now if you are the Indiana Hoosiers, because a win is a win. This is funny. They'll probably put Notre Dame back in the top 10 over us. You're probably right. You're probably right, because the AP poll voters have no idea. I would be willing to bet, and we got to go because I'll never stop. I would be willing to bet that the AP poll voters, over half of them, didn't watch the Indiana-Iowa game. What do you want to bet? Some of them will be scoreboard watchers only and say, oh, Indiana got a nice win against Iowa. Oh, only by 5, though. I don't know. But they did win. I don't know. But they'll just be scoreboard watchers and box score viewers is what I like to call them, too. They did watch this game, and that's fine. It wasn't pretty. They probably didn't want to watch it anyway. So we'll see if Indiana's a top 10 team. But what I know is they'll be undefeated. Okay. So thank you so much for being here on this live show, man. Been a lot of fun. We're going to have more thoughts on this come Monday's show. Our normal episode, we post one a day, every day, Monday through Friday for you on Locked On Hoosiers, whether it's here on YouTube or on your audio podcasting platforms as well. 25 to 30 minutes every single day. We're going to break this game down more on Monday. And so be sure to go and check that out. Enjoy the rest of the weekend of football, plus the NFL slate tomorrow, the Ryder Cup. If you want to watch the Americans get beat, you're more than welcome to go check that out as well. But we are back on Monday. All right, Hoosier fans, back on Monday for a full episode. Hoosiers win 20-15, taking down Iowa and head into a much needed bye week. All right, Hoosier fans, back on Monday for another episode. So until then, stay safe and we'll talk to you later.